On this episode of the Preferable Podcast, Season 3, Episode 22, Turning a Vision into Reality, Special Olympics world medalist Loretta Claiborne will sit down for an exclusive interview with myself to discuss how she was born partially blind with numerous of intellectual disabilities, but at 70 years old, being invited to play in the 2023 World Olympics in Germany. All this and more on this episode of the Preferable Podcast. I am Jayden Watkins, your host and executive producer. Thank you for tuning in to the Preferable Podcast. If you are listening to this episode on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible, iHeartRadio, or any other major podcasting platform, please make sure that you subscribe and share this episode so that we can encourage as many people as possible. This episode talks about turning visions into a reality. A vision is defined as something seen in mind and as a goal that is set, but not yet became a reality. Many people have visions but fail to turn those visions into a reality due to the lack of what it takes to transform visions into a reality. If it was easy to do, so many would do it. But due to it being challenging and a test of one's steadfastness, it is something that is not for the swift or for the strong, but the one that chooses to endure to the end. Will you be that one? The one that chooses to walk in purity. Well, at least try to, even though some don't agree. Will you be that one? The one that takes a vision and turn it into a reality to not only positively impact yourself, but positively impact the world. Will you be that one? My guest today chose and is still choosing to be that one. She is a living testimony of the result of limitless faith and steadfastness. Loretta Claiborne was born on August 14th, 1953 in York, Pennsylvania. She was the fourth of 8 children, and she and her siblings were raised by their single mother, Rita Claiborne. Loretta Claiborne was born partially blind with an intellectual disability and clubbed feet. She underwent surgeries to correct her feet and visual impairment when she was young and was unable to walk until she was 4 years old. She learned to talk when she was 7, although doctors advised Claiborne's mother to institutionalize the girl. Her mother steadfastly refused, choosing to raise Claiborne at home with her other children. When Claiborne was 17, a school counselor suggested she participate in the newly formed Special Olympics. Claiborne subsequently competed as a runner at the Special Olympics of 1970, where she received her first medal as an Special Olympics athlete. She has completed over 25 marathons. In 2000, Claiborne's life was the subject of the Loretta Claiborne Story, a Disney television film. Please welcome Loretta Claiborne to the Preferable Podcast.
Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you, Miss Loretta, for agreeing to have this vital conversation on today. So my first question, or just me thinking about your beginnings, born partially blind and not able to walk or talk until around the age of 4, is that correct?
Correct.
Then competing in the Special Olympics numerous of times. If you could choose one word to define yourself, what word would that be and why that word?
One word would be blessed.
Why is that?
Because I feel as though I have been blessed. Even during the last couple of weeks, I was attacked. And I could have been killed. A strange person just out of no reason shot a brick at me when I was coming home with a cup of coffee, prepared to go on to Germany that same day. And it was supposed to be the pinnacle of my life to be able to compete on the world stage and then have this happen to me. I got to say I am blessed because I was able to go into Germany and perform well and set my goal and reach it.
That is wonderful. And you just mentioned to me some of the challenges that you have faced and are still facing. Can you tell us a few more challenges that you have faced, maybe in school, when you were younger, or in everyday life activities?
Sure. I started out in school, even though I was 4 years old before I really was able to walk. I was almost 4 going on 5. My mother had many children. And of course, she knew there was a problem, but she wanted me to be able to get an education the same as her other 6 children. She knew it was going to be rough. So the first 3 years of school, I repeated. So I repeated kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. And still to this day, people say, how do you remember every teacher you have? Well, if you repeat grades, your mind just absorbs that in. And it was a challenge for me. And my mother knew I was going to have a long road, but she wanted me to go on and try to be my best. And she actually, from a very young age, she knew things was going to be tough, but she wanted me to survive. So she was hard on me, just like my other sisters and brothers. If I didn't talk right, she would look at me, grab my face, and say, repeat that. She wanted me to have good language because she knew in her heart that people are going to judge you by the way you talk, or people are going to judge you by the way you look, or people are going to judge you by the way you act. So she wanted me not only just be able to speak clear, she wanted me to be my best. And she would always say to me, it might won't mean nothing now, but when you get older, it will show. Well, she was right. I remember one day getting up and rushing out the door. And you got to mind you, it was 5 girls, 1 bedroom, 1 bed. And we hung up clothes. And I can remember people saying, those Claiborne girls, they're always out there working, they're always out there cleaning. You know, we had to clean up the yard. We had to make sure that the clothes were hung up. We had to make sure that the clothes was washed. The oldest girl ran the washer. We had to make sure the bathrooms were clean. And when you walked in Rita Claiborne's house, you'd never know she had 7 kids, as people would say, because her house would be spick and span. But she prepared us. And I remember one time going to school, I was rushing out, and she says, where are you going? I said, I'm going to be late. She says, I don't care what you're going to be. You're going to go upstairs and you're going to look in that mirror and you're going to look at that head and you're going to fix your hair. So I go upstairs, I run up, I comb my hair, I brushed it back. I had a ponytail and it was a little frizzy. I brushed it back and my mom says, now you can leave my door, because when you walk out my house, like I said before, I want you to look your best, because then you'll be your best. No, she said, I want you to look your best. Then you'll feel your best. And then when you get to that school, you can be your best. And she was hard on me, just like my other sisters and brothers. She didn't give me no easy path. And I think that's why I turned out today like I turned out, because she was told, this kid's not going to possibly survive this long. These children are going to be in institutions. But my mom was a big, bold woman, broad woman. But man, she had a heart on her. She'd make room for somebody else. And she wanted her kids. She said, no, I don't teach you like that. What did you say? And she would smack me. It's Mr. I don't care what nobody says. You address him as Mr. Brown, not Brown. And she was tough on us. And she wanted me to be sufficient. As time went by, her main goal was for me to graduate from high school. We were meeting challenges in the classroom, and the school board had me tested again. And they says, we can't educate Loretta. I remember going to the school board sitting, and I was in elementary school still. And they were saying, Miss Claiborne, we sent you to the best school for children like Loretta. Have you chosen one? She says, yes, I've seen some fine schools, but you know what? You got a school right here in York, Pennsylvania. You got a special education class, which Loretta attends now. And I got 7 children. I don't have 6. And darn it, of course, you used the other word. You're going to educate my Loretta. And my Loretta, if it's up to me, when she graduates, she's not going to get a certificate. She's going to have a diploma that says Loretta Claiborne has completed her studies, the same as my other children. And she was on a row.
Wow. Wow.
So this woman who was segregated herself as a child because of the color of her skin didn't let that inflict on her children, including me.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. And we applaud all of the mothers who are fearless and courageous right now, because sometimes even behind closed doors or behind the scenes, we don't always see how much they put in and how much they fight for their children. Speaking of your mother, for those who do not know, there is a Disney movie that came out in 2000. Yes, 2000, of Miss Loretta Claiborne. And the movie in the beginning highlights her mother and her fearlessness and how she had this vision for her child of beating the odds. So speaking a little more about your mother, what is one affirmation that she told you that still sticks with you today?
She had so many, I guess you would call, little words that she would say to us. And she didn't only say it to me, she said it to all of us. It's not how much you have, it's what you have and how you use it. And that one still sticks with me today. And I can see that because we lived poor. We didn't have much. Like I said, we had one bed with 5 girls and the 2 boys shared a room. And then she had her room with the baby. And then as time came, we lived in the housing project. We got a bigger house where we could, have 2 girls in the room, the 2 boys in the room, and then, of course, a room for her. So it's gotten a little bit better. But she always said, when people would say something, oh, somebody made fun of my shorts, she says, honey, shorts is just a piece of material to cover your body. As long as it's clean, that's all it means. It's not how much you have, it's what you have and how you use it. And she had this thing. She would always say, like, if we're playing a game and somebody's cheating, said, you cheat, you'll lie. If you lie, you'll steal. And she was right. If you cheat in the game, if you can't play the game right, then you shouldn't play it at all. Find something else to do. Because if you cheat and you develop that habit of cheating, then you'll start lying. And if you develop the habit of lying, then you will steal. And she didn't condone a cheater, she didn't condone a liar, and she didn't condone a thief. And if he did something and she came to you and said, Loretta, was you at that part? Tell the truth. Because if I find out, you're going to be wearing a brand new backside. And I would cry. And I said, I was at the part. Yeah, I got that beaten. It wasn't as hard because I told the truth. She still reprimanded me, but I told the truth. And it was a little lighter. And she was right. And I still carry that today. When I talk to youth, I said, now, I see the kids up the store. I go up to the little Turkey Hill. I get a cup of coffee for 52 cents. And I see the kids come in, there's 3 or 4 kids. And then one will mingle around. And I walk up to him. I said, you're a nice kid. I don't want to see you get in trouble. So you don't have to put that in your pocket. I said, it's paid for. But the next time you come in the store, please, please, please. I don't want somebody to misjudge you because you're a little black kid and everybody's going to have this perception, our kids steal, our kids are thieves. I want you to come in the store. And I said to him and his friends, I said, you don't have to do this. You don't have to take stuff out of the store. And that kid remembered that. That kid's now a young man. He says, Miss Loretta, I remember when I went in the store and you bought me a slushie. Guess what? I just bought a slushie for 3 little boys back there. He passed it on.
Wow.
Simple, common. What did that slushie cost? 50 cents. Yeah, everybody doesn't have 50 cents all the time. And I told the kids, I said, I'm going to let you go. I'm not going to say anything, but don't do it again. And now that kid's a young man. He says, I just brought 3 kids over there a slushie. I said, well, thank you. And thank you for passing it on. And those are the things that my mom always told us. And she would always say, if I can't afford it, then you don't need it. And I still use those analogies to this day.
Something that some look at simple, like you said, just a few cents, but it's more than a few cents. It sparks something else, and it shows us the legacy that your mother has that is still visible on today through you. And now it's going to be visible through other people just by the lesson that she taught you. And your actions, your words, even to the listeners, your actions and your words have a bigger impact than you can ever imagine. Just like the title of this episode of turning your visions into reality, just what looks or seems like a small vision can actually change the course of someone's life. So,
Correct.
wonderful. And let's talk a little bit about your athletic side. I don't want to disclose your age, but I'm going to. How did it feel?
Age is just a way of thinking. I'm going to be 70.
How did it feel being told at 70 years old that you were invited to play in the 2023 World Olympics in Germany?
When Sue Paterno, a friend of mine, whose husband was Joe Paterno, who coached at Penn State for many years, who had passed on, she came to me after I played the girl who was going on to nationals, and I'd beaten this girl. And I thought, well, I'm really just focusing on me and Patrick playing doubles. I just want to play tennis with my friend, Patrick, who's much younger than me. I think he's like 26, but we just bond. And Patrick's very young and just out of school, and he would ask me questions. And then, I would try to help him out. He had just closed on a home. Really go getter. He has some medical issues. He has some intellectual disability, but a kid that wants to go farther. And I could see me and Patrick. I mean, I look at Patrick and I could see me. Boy, if I was, at his age and doing what he's doing, because at his age, I wasn't doing anything but going to a shelter workshop. So I look back at that. But when I look back and seeing this lady come up to me, a friend of mine, and she looked at me, she says, Loretta, you're going to Germany. And I looked at her. I said, what? She says, you're going to Germany. You see that big plane you're looking at? You're going to fly that plane. You're going to Germany. I didn't have words. I was so excited. I just looked up into the heavens. And if you see the video, you can see me looking up the heavens and thanking God, because I didn't think I would ever make the team because of my age. Because I look at some of the people at the teams, there are some older people, but not in their 70s. There's some 50-year-olds, there are some 40-year-olds. In fact, my tennis partner was only 36, so 36 and 36 is 72. So I'm almost double her age. And I couldn't believe it. But it was just so enlightening. I had no words. I only had thanks to God. I mean, because I tried to make the team in 2019, and I was very broken. I really wanted to go to the Middle East. I've been there. I met the people there. I knew the culture, and I tried in 2019, and I didn't get chosen. And I went to my room to shower up after my match. I'd won all my matches, and they picked in a different division. And I actually cried. There was nobody else in that room. I went in the shower, and I usually go in the shower singing. And I went in that shower and I cried. And then I said to myself, Loretta, pick your heart up and put it back in your chest where it belongs. Let's move on. 4 years later, I wasn't even thinking about going to a World Games. It was in the back of my mind like a vision. You think it, but you don't know if it's going to happen. And it happened. That vision became reality. I always title my speeches as, when I'm talking to young people, my dream can be your reality. So it's the same as a vision, because you dream something, you don't know if it's going to come true. But when it comes true, it becomes reality. So getting back to making these games, I was elated. I just couldn't believe it. Is this a dream? Is this really happening? And it did happen. And somebody said to me, is this your last World Games? I said, let me tell you something. this is not my last World Games. Because until the guy up above tells me to slow down and stop, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going forward. It won't be in tennis. I play a lot of sports. I kayak. Tomorrow I'll be having kayaking. Tonight I'm going to be playing pickleball. I might go up to the tennis courts, and hit a couple balls today just to stay in shape and get the activity because I don't have nothing else tonight. And I'm going to call this coach and see if are they going to hand over so I can tell my refit person, because I normally do refit on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, I work at the Y for an hour and then I go to another class. So I'm constantly busy. And when this summer's over, right now I'm doing golf, I'm doing kayaking, and hopefully pickleball. And then when the summer's over, I'll start my soccer, I'll start bocce, and I'll start volleyball. And of course, I'll still work out the Y. So I stay busy. And somebody said to me last night on the chat, well, they were talking about going to the next games. And one guy says in his state, you have to wait 8 years. And then one guy says, oh, I'll be 104. I don't think I'm going to be seeing that. He was a coach. And they said, oh, Loretta will keep going. I said, oh, yeah, until the good Lord stops me. When he tells me, oh, I'll listen to him and only him, because he is my coach. He is my maker. He is my everything.
Wow. Miss Loretta, what does success mean to you?
Can you repeat that, please?
Yes. What does success mean to you?
You know, success comes from within. I have a friend that I talk to all the time, and she's actually a professor. And we were talking about the word success, going to another issue last week. And she says, you know, when you look at success, that means you achieve something. And some people look at success like wealth and money and all that. She said she likes to use the term significant. But I always say success comes from within. Success comes from in your heart and in your mind, because those are the two things that drive your body to work. And those are the two things that God gives you. You can make a successful life. What is success? To me, it's not about car. It's not about how many medals I have. Success to me is doing better than what I did yesterday. It's an inner thing. It doesn't have to be about award. It doesn't have to mean I'm successful because I did 36 push-ups today. I achieved that, but success comes from within, and success can be a word that's very, very wide. And in our society, people look at people and says, oh, he's successful because he has a Cadillac. Oh, she's successful. But, you know, to me, it's totally different. I have been successful because I'm doing better today. It might be my behavior than I did yesterday. Yesterday, I would use my fists. Or a year ago, I would use my fists. Today, I would go out and run and think about how to deal with that issue that I'm dealing with.
When we were talking earlier, you reminded me of a quote that I wrote in my first book, and it says, the true loser is someone who never gets back up and try again. But the
Amen.
true winner is the one who gets back up and try again. And when I start to think about you at 70 years old, playing in the Olympics, being accepted to play in such a great game, but recognizing at the same time that it's not about material things. It's not about the money. It's not about the fame. It's not about the fortune. It's about turning that vision into reality and using that purpose that God has given you to impact a whole nother generation and remind us that it's possible if you believe and put in the hard work. So, Miss Loretta, what gives you the inspiration to beat the odds and triumph over challenges?
I know this is not a religious podcast, but first of all, I would be remiss. First of all, it's God, my mother, Eunice Kenny Schreiber through sports, There's a little saying at my friend's house when I go and stay with my friend or her husband. Actually, I'm going to go out in August before I go to sports camp. It's a camp for people with intellectual disability, and we play sports all the time, and I love my sports. But when I go down in her bathroom to brush my teeth, that they have a basement and I have my own space down there. There's a little plaque, and it's a little girl pulling a wagon with teddy bears or something in it. And on that little plaque, it says, it's like friends are the ones you meet along the way, not at the end. And it's the people that I have met along the way that made a difference in my life, and not the people I hope at the end. And when I look back at the people along my way, it's a gazillion people. And I don't want to give names because then I would miss somebody. But a few of them would be my mother, my family, Special Olympics Eunice Kennedy Shriver, Becky Hollis and her husband, Linda Meyer. I can go on and on and on. Nora Mason. It's people that I can sit when I'm troubled. They could hear me. They would sit and talk to me. I would get on a train and they would settle me. I know I had an issue this past week, and I called Dr. Meyer up, and she sat and she talked to me. And she's the one that says, she likes the word sufficient more than success. But like I said to her, to me, the word success comes from within.
Wow. And Miss Loretta, this is a podcast, a Christian podcast. We love to talk about Jesus. So if you want to talk about Jesus, please do so. So can you please stay with us for a few more minutes?
Sure.
We are going to take a short commercial break, but we're going to be right back here on the Preferable Podcast. Please stay tuned in so that you can be encouraged by the message that Ms. Claiborne wants to send to us regarding turning your vision into a reality. I believe that my purpose in life is to inspire others to live according to the reason why they were created and motivate them to activate their God-given gifts to maximize their potential. To book myself, Jayden Watkins, to speak at events such as conferences, community engagements, schools, camps, or to preach at your church or youth revival, email iamjaydenwatkins@gmail.com. or visit jaydenwatkins.com and fill out the booking form. I look forward to your invitation. Thank you for your support. And we are back after the break. I am talking to Special Olympics athlete Miss Loretta Claiborne. The title of this episode, as we continue to piggyback on, is Turning a Vision into Reality. Miss Loretta, what mentality did you have when practicing on the fields as an athlete, even when you were tired, that helped turn your vision of being in the Olympics into a reality?
You know, when I look back at training on the field, there was a lot of things, especially when I was younger. I am a 4th degree black belt. When I was younger, I remember seeing so many athletes who had more potential than I did, way more. But they let the infractions get in front of them. You know, they would say, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But yet this young person could be probably an Olympian. And they decide to let the distractions bother them. Whereas I knew I was going to have it. I didn't have the ability that they had, but I also knew that I'm not going to let the distractions get in front of me. So I knew that, if there was a party and somebody says, oh, you got to go to this, you got to go to that. And I knew there was a time for me to practice, to get on that tennis court. I was going to be on that tennis court. I can give up the party. The party is nice. I didn't take everything, but I learned to use balance. Where do I want to go with this sport? Where do I want to go with this issue? Where do I want to go with anything I'm doing? And sometimes you got to make a sacrifice. And I have this little saying when I say to children, sometimes you have to make a sacrifice to make a gain. So if it takes you that extra half hour, if you want to get that A in school, maybe you should take part of that half an hour and practice a little harder to work on getting that A. Sometimes it takes a sacrifice to make a gain. And when I look at people who had took a sacrifice, I look at Eunice Kennedy Shriver. When she had started Special Olympics, she didn't know if it was going to be successful. She didn't know if society was going to get in front of her. And at the time when she started the games, this country was broken. Blacks wasn't liking whites. Whites wasn't liking blacks. It was before you were born. I lived through the 69 riots, 68 riots. So I seen it. And here's this woman who decides, I'm going to start the games for people who are different, for people like my sister. And she started those games. And there she had some negativity, but she didn't let that distraction get in front of her. And when you look at those games in 1968, it was just a couple states. You look at those games today, there were 190 countries at the games in Germany. So if she were to decide to let the distraction get in front of her, Special Olympics wouldn't be what it is today. And that's the same way I felt. If I let distractions get in front of me, I wouldn't have been a 4th degree black belt, because I would say, oh, I want to go to this dance, or oh, I want to go to this, or I want to see this TV show. And I decided that I'm not going to let the distraction get in front of me. And somebody would say to me, oh, you put so much time into that. And I said, well, you know what? Sometimes you got to make a sacrifice in order to make a gain.
That's so.
And that's the same way with Eunice Kennedy Shriver when she started Special Olympics. Yesterday was her 102nd birthday.
That is so powerful. Sometimes it takes a sacrifice to make a gain. And sometimes we allow distractions to hinder us from our potential, but we must stop doing that. And sometimes we limit ourselves because of us saying this has not yet been done, when we were called to be set apart and do something that has not yet been done. Arising not to the occasion, but rising above the occasion. You said sometimes it takes a sacrifice to make
a gain.
That is so powerful.
Jesus did it.
Mm-hmm.
He sacrificed his life so that we could go on and live without sin.
A man that knew no sin, but died for sin. Yes, he did. What message would you like to send today to government officials or people who try to limit the success of those with intellectual disabilities?
What I'd like to say today to the government officials, no matter if they're here in the United States or around the world, that we have one world. And many people live in this one world. And we all have to share this world. But for us to share it and be able to live in this world together, that you as a government should make sure that everyone has equal part, whether to live, play, or work in your society, wherever you may be, including those with intellectual disability. And a lot of times people associate intellectual disability with mental health, two totally different things. Or they associate intellectual disability with somebody who uses a wheelchair or somebody you could see the disability. And most times you can't see our disabilities unless you're around us for a while. But give us a chance to live and live equal in society and our world. My message to the government is that everyone deserves a chance. And the only way that could happen is you as a government will explore and let people with intellectual disability have the same rights to play, education, work, and in the community.
My last question to you, Ms. Loretta Claiborne, we talked about your family, we talked about your childhood, we talked about some of the challenges you have faced, your spiritual life, your mental life, even your life out on the field or in the tracks. Out of all of that, what legacy do you hope to leave behind someday?
One of the legacies I hope to leave behind is that, of course, in our Special Olympics, sport is our main vehicle. But now a lot of our athletes want to be coaches. A lot of our athletes want to be able to lead in their community, that they had the opportunity to be able to lead. But one of the real things I like to see too also is that in the schools, that one day every child who comes through that school with an intellectual disability, physical disability, or not, be able to go to school and learn, work, and play, because it all starts in the school as the youth. It all starts when your children are younger, that they have seen that the system sees the same value in every child, not just in some, not just in the very smart, but every child that walks through their building has the same opportunity to learn. And the same, and I'm not just saying just an opportunity to learn, but to be their best potential, to be able to go out and learn in that school, to play, and to be a part of that system. Because we know as we get older, no matter how old you get, you're going to remember what happened to you as a child. More than what happened to you on the work 30 or 40 years ago. You're going to go back 50 or 60 years ago and says, oh, I remember we couldn't even play basketball in school. We had to play half court because they told us, girls, that would hurt us. And today, you look at basketball, women are playing basketball better than some men.
Wow.
So everyone has a chance to succeed within their own right.
Oh, what a great legacy that is coming into fruition, and I'm sure it's going to continue to flourish and come into fruition. Thank you so much, Miss Loretta Claiborne, for being
Thank you.
enough to share your story with us.
Well, thank you. And Mr. Watkins, many blessings to you. And keep on going through. Like Martin Luther King said, faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. That's one of my favorite quotes by Martin Luther King, and it's true.
Yes. If you haven't already, please subscribe and turn on your notifications so that you will be notified when new episodes are released. If you would like to be a guest on the Preferable Podcast, sponsor a episode, or advertise your business, email Jayden Watkins at gmail.com. Again, that email is IamJaydenWatkins Please donate to keep this podcast going and growing. You can donate through Cash App, $ I am Jaydah Watkins, $IamJaydenWatkins, or you can donate through PayPal at WJayden1. This is Season 3, Episode 22, Turning a Vision into Reality. Now go out and turn those visions that has the potential to greatly impact the world in a positive way into a reality. I am your host, Jayden Watkins, saying I will and never stop making this world more preferable. God bless you.